So, about Ireland and their birth rate and their marriage rates, I've learned, at least I've assessed from my own experience, that Ireland is trying to stimulate birth and population growth, but doing it through incentives such as the child allowance and council housing for single mothers and cares for children with such minor issues like what they say is ADHD or other things. And they're giving massive amounts of rent via council housing, where you can live in a $200,000-300,000 house and pay $60 a week, right? 60 euro a week. Where a house payment for something like that would be 1,800, maybe 2,000, including insurance, mortgage insurance or home insurance or whatever, maybe a little bit more. So they're paying 240 a month for rent that would normally be 2,000 a month. So they're paying 10% of what they would normally pay for rent, roughly, and getting child allowance of 140 euros per child. I think that's gone up recently. And so, not only child allowance from the government, but also child maintenance from the fathers, or what we would call in the States, child support. And so, being a single mother also entitles you to benefits of well over 1,000 euros a month. I mean, if you have 4 kids in Ireland, you're going to get paid from the government roughly 2,500 euros, maybe close to 3,000 euros a month, especially if you have children with ADHD or Asperger's or, something like that, that, is controversial anyway. Like, these days everybody's got ADHD, so pretty much everybody qualifies for CARES allowance in Ireland, which is significant, several hundred euros a month extra on top of the child allowance. So, I would say, to be fair, it could only be as little as 2,000 euros a month, depending on if you have children with disabilities or whatever. Or it could be as much as 3,000 a month, depends on how you play the system. 3,000 euros a month, that is, which is significantly higher in value than the US dollar. So, to me, it seems like in Ireland, despite having a very religious culture, a church-based culture, that they're encouraging single motherhood on the secular level by stimulating single mothers with more money than they could possibly make working. Like, I know people in Ireland who have opportunities to go to work and make, 10 to 12 euros an hour. And if you add that up, a common full-time job, which most of them wouldn't work full-time because they have kids, but, full-time at, say, $10 an hour, 10 euros an hour, that's what, 240, no, that's 160 hours a month. Jeez, my math is not great today. And if they're working full-time, at 10 euros an hour, that's 1,600 euros a month. If you're working all the hours and you're not taking time off for your kids and, for whatever, for colds and flus and whatever else. If you're getting the maximum amount of hours, you're going to make roughly 1,600 euros a month. I would say most single mothers, if they're working at all in Ireland, are working part-time. So they might get 800 euros a month. But if you're not working, if you're a single mother, you qualify for a whole lot more, at least 2,000 euros a month. Plus, if you get council housing, you're paying nearly nothing for your rent. So it's my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but I looked at the birth rates in Ireland, and they're 4.1 per 1,000 people. 4.1 births per 1,000 people. 4.1 marriages per 1,000 people. My apologies. Birth rate's way higher than that, but in the United States, even though we're very secular and very, opposed to religion, as in previous years or previous decades, we're straying away from that influence. And despite that we're a very secular society in the US, it's 6 births per 1,000 people. I'm sorry, 6 marriages per 1,000 people. And, you know, that is significantly higher. That's almost a third higher than Ireland is, right? So to me, it just seems like it's manipulation of the system. I mean, this is happening all over the world where welfare and, you know, assistance from governments for single mothers is significant and getting higher. I mean, I know that single mothers get a lot here in the US. They get food stamps, like up, you know, if you've got 4 kids and you're a single mother not working in the US, you're going to get $1,400 a month in food stamps or more. You'll get Section 8 housing, which is basically free rent. You can get utility assistance, and you'll get child support. And if you don't get child support, if the father doesn't voluntarily give it to you, the state will give it to you and then just go back on the father, put him in jail or something until he pays it, right? And so, I mean, you're doing pretty good in the US too. I would say not nearly as good as you would in Ireland and other parts of Europe. So to me, it seems like governments around the world, secular governments, are replacing the role of the father in marriages, relationships, parenthood. They're replacing the role of the father with welfare benefits, significant welfare benefits that disincentivize people from being married and disincentivize people from going to work, making them almost completely dependent on the government. Now, if my numbers are wrong, go ahead and correct me. I'm not saying that I know every detail, but, you know, just topically, in looking at it, you know, birth rates are much higher in Ireland. Marriage rates are much lower. Single motherhood is much higher in Ireland than the US. This is what I'm comparing it to. But, you know, and much more in the birth rates are higher in Ireland and much lower in the US. So it seems like they're encouraging population growth in Ireland, but they're also encouraging single mothers, you know, fatherless homes, and all the problems that go with that. The problems that I have with that is that if you look at, you know, crime statistics and demographics of children in the system, you know, and then adults who grew up in single parent houses, is that they're 9 times more likely. It's not inevitable. They're not absolutely assured that they will have these problems, but it's 9 times more likely, 900% more likely for kids that grow up in a single home to go looking for what they missed out in their father. So boys will go towards strong male role models, usually in gangs and criminal activity. Females will go towards older men and relationships with men that are not good for them at young ages and end up with teenage pregnancies and other consequences. This all leads to drugs, depression, suicide, criminal behavior, prison time. And, you know, it's significantly higher. Those problems are significantly higher in single parent households than in 2-parent households. Now, certainly 2-parent households have the same issues, just not as high of a degree. It's 900% lower in 2-parent households. But the government makes money off prison. The government makes money off all these other problems. You know, they get more tax money, they employ more people, they get raises. I mean, it's a system, you know, and single parenthood is a big part of that system. It plays a role in, you know, government functionality and control. And they want more control, so that's what they give them. This isn't just Ireland, this is all over the world. That's my thoughts on it.